you listen to reason? Will you open your eyes?
Victor in London, how are you?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Well, first I'd like to thank you all for doing this show.
Thank you.
I've been watching it for quite some time now, and it has helped me a lot with adapting to the idea of being an atheist. As I was raised in a Christian family, and was a Christian until I was about 14 years old. And since then, until I started watching the show about 6 months ago, I just consider myself an agnostic, whereas now I consider myself an agnostic atheist, not knowing before that those two are not mutually exclusive. Hello?
Yes.
Hello.
Congratulations.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
And I would also very quickly like to say that I appreciate the fact that you're encouraging people to think critically, as that has helped me to be more skeptical, and I'm sure many others have also benefited from the effort you're all doing there. The question I have for you is, why do you think that there are so many irrational people in the world right now? Because I find it a bit weird that there can still be so much irrationality in the world these days, despite the fact that humans have evolved to have a brain which allows them to build computers and spacecraft and develop cures for diseases.
Sure. This one I think is actually pretty easy, and I talked about it a little bit. If the videos for the last couple debates that I did are up online, and I talked about it in the debate that we did in Frisco, Texas with JT and I, which is up on my Facebook page and at JT's blog as well.
Right.
Part of this is about compartmentalization, about protecting the beliefs that we hold, and religious systems have a very good mechanism for self-protection. But the big thing is that we tend to live our lives based on inference and induction. That today is pretty much the same as yesterday. We have built up, we use our reasoning and our experience in combination to build up the sort of our intuition, our visceral reactions, and we live primarily by inference and induction, which means that I'm comparing the situation I'm in to other situations and trying to come to what seems like or feels like the best answer. Because if I sat around and actually spent time reasoning through A and B and considering all the possibilities, which I can't do in many cases, that would be too much time. It would be too much investment.
Right.
And so the problem is that while inference and induction are really, really good at getting us through most things, what they do is they inflate our opinion of our own intellect and our own ability to reason to the point that when we intuitively come to a wrong conclusion, it has the same strength as the right conclusions until it's challenged. And if that wrong conclusion sits there and you base a lot of other things upon it, and it seems to work, like is what you get in many religions, this idea, oh, there's a God, and I'm going to pray and sing along with everybody, and I feel goosebumps and elation. And all of these things work together to create a safety net around that belief so that it's very hard to get into where the core belief that's wrong is. And this inflation of our estimation of our own intellect causes us to overemphasize how correct we are.
Right, and I wasn't talking only about religious people. I was talking about atheists as well, because some atheists can be irrational at times as well. That's why I was
absolutely.
asking the question.
Yeah, it applies to everything, not just religious beliefs. It applies everywhere. We are always capable of getting something wrong, but the fact that we get so many things right without even hardly trying, I mean, it's if you sat down and tried to categorize, count up in just a given day, how many decisions you made based on some sort of evidence or some sort of claim, you'd be floored. I mean, it's everything you do. You know, am I going to do this now? Am I going to do this now? There's not even always a decision-making process. It happens at a subconscious level, and you know, we are our brains, and we're kind of prisoners and victims of our brains on occasion.
That's true.
I would also add that it's like the capacity to see patterns is extremely useful in survival, not just for humans, but for everything. And so what happens is we tend, not just as humans, but other animals as well, to, I guess, identify a pattern very quickly, even if it's not really a pattern. That might tie into like coincidences, for example. But there's an experiment where they took a pigeon and they gave it a treat when it did a certain thing, And I think it was like hitting a button or something like that. When the pigeon would do this, he would get a treat. And it took him just a few turns to realize that I hit this button, I get a treat. So they let him get the treats for a while, and then they stopped giving him treats when he did that. And it took him like some ridiculous number of hits before he finally gave up trying to get the treat. So to break that pattern was really hard. It was real easy to set the pattern. All he needed was a reward a couple times to say, ooh, I get this, I do this, I get a reward. But to get him to stop that took a long time. So people are, I think, very similar in that we see patterns quickly. But the problem is sometimes it only takes a couple of lucky hits to make us think that my lucky socks are what made my team win the game, so I'm going to wear my lucky socks every time my team plays. Right? Because the last 2 times I wore these socks, my team won, so I'm always wearing these socks when we play now.
And the other thing that we know is once somebody has vocally expressed a belief that they hold, a position that they have, they are less likely to change their mind, and they are going to be more protective of it. So once you start talking, go ahead.
Sorry, what I wanted to say is that I mean, despite the fact that humans indeed rely on this kind of patterns, in the same time, our intellect has evolved to the extent that I suppose it would have been able to manage to dominate this kind of reliance on patterns. That's why I thought that.
Yeah, and yet there's lucky socks.
No. That's yes, our intellect has evolved, but we don't want to get rid of that. Because by and large, it's incredibly useful, and we're most often correct about those things. We're really, really good at pattern spotting. We're really, really good at relying on this, and most of the time, it's a complete benefit. There are exceptions where this becomes a negative, and one of the other things is that as our intellect increases, we get better at protecting our treasured negatives from scrutiny. And so it's
kind of an irony, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
it is. It's a catch-22.
Does that help?
Well,
Yeah.
so yeah, definitely. Well, thanks a lot, guys, and keep up the good work. I don't want to hold you any longer because I know you have a lot of callers there.
Thanks for
All right.
calling.
Thanks, Victor.